personal
Yeah.
beef, but it's it's funny because it's not a big deal. Like what we're beefing about is hilarious. Actually, it's funny.
Obviously, aside from defaming me, why don't you look inside your own circle? Because I know for a fact that people are stealing from you.
Another snooze fest. They're trying to sell a pay-per-view for $90 and $500 minimum in person. It's just robbery at this point.
Oscar De La Hoya reignites a back and forth with Canelo and Dana White, exposing shocking terms of their proposed fight deal. Speaking on the matchup, Oscar weighed in on the size difference, noting that throughout boxing history, a smaller man has never beaten a bigger one. Still, he refused to count Crawford out. At the same time, he asserted that the bout is mainly a money grab.
Just say Canelo Crawford, in the history of boxing, and this is the facts.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
If you see Thursdays, back Thursdays, I speak the facts. All right, I'll even do it for you. A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations. With Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, this is the truth again.
Weighing in on the matchup, Oscar said he believes Terence Crawford has the tools to beat Canelo Alvarez at 168 pounds. He highlighted the contrasting styles of the two fighters and pointed to Crawford's dominant win over Errol Spence Jr. as proof that Crawford can succeed against Canelo as well.
But Crawford doesn't rely on his power, he relies on his IQ. Crawford, what he did to Spence was magic, was incredible, was amazing. And so, look, one thing about Canelo is that we all know that he walks in the ring as if there's wet cement, right? His footwork is a little too heavy. Crawford is such a smart fighter where he can he's like Bruce Lee, literally, and he's in his peak, he's in his prime. And so I think that if that fight ever happens, which I don't think it will, if that fight ever happens, I have to go with Crawford.
At one point, Oscar De La Hoya supported Canelo Alvarez, particularly due to the weight difference. However, he later raised concerns about Canelo's progression, suggesting that the fighter may be past his prime and showing signs of decline. De La Hoya also emphasized the contrast in styles and weight disparities between Canelo and Terence Crawford, ultimately viewing the potential matchup as a 50-50 fight.
That's a tough one because we can all see it. Canelo's declining. We can see it because Father Time just catches up to you. That's just the name of the game, the nature of the beast, right? Crawford, I mean, he's the same age as well,
37.
Different types of lifestyles, different styles. Canelo's getting into some wars now, which kind of like chips away at the block, Do I favor him over Canelo? I don't know. I think it's a 50-50 fight at this point, given where they're at their careers.
But if you had to give somebody 1%,
Last one here.
1%,
1%, I would go with Canelo. Yeah, just because of the weight factor.
As the boxing world begins to shift its predictions, Eddie Hearn also weighed in, stating that he wasn't surprised by Canelo's most recent performance. He pointed out that the change in public opinion stems from the belief that Canelo has lost the hunger and intensity he once brought to the ring. According to Hearn, Crawford might not only beat Canelo, but hurt him badly enough that it could push Canelo toward retirement.
The fact that he couldn't cut the ring off, I just feel like the timing now, the age, Canelo is amazing. I mean, not just because of his ability and what he's accomplished, but the fact that he still has the desire for those training camps and those fights. But I just feel like that desire might be fading a little bit. Not because of his love, but just because of age and life. Do you know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, the Crawford fight will definitely get him up for it. But I was actually watching that fight thinking I wouldn't be surprised if he retired.
Eddie also expressed that he understands Canelo won't want to lose to a smaller fighter like Terence Crawford, but he fears that might be exactly what happened. Hearn suggested that this could be the final fight of Canelo's career, as there may be no significant opponents left for him afterward. He also weighed in on a potential future matchup between Canelo and David Benavidez, offering his thoughts on how that fight might unfold.
And actually didn't fight Crawford, because I don't think he'll want to lose to Crawford, a much smaller guy, just because he's at the end of the road. But the fight's so big and the money's so big, he's gonna have to take it. I bet he retires after that fight.
No, really?
Yeah. Why would you carry on? Like, you fight Crawford. Who else is there for Canelo Alvarez to fight?
David Benavidez. Yeah.
But he's just not gonna, like, the size of Benavidez. Now, is Benavidez gonna come back to 68? I don't know. Like, again, the same thing. I don't think Canelo would want to lose to Benavidez.
Furthermore, Hearn observed that Canelo is no longer the fighter he once was. He recalled watching Canelo's bout with William Skull while sitting alongside Terence Crawford, and remembered telling Crawford that he believed he could beat Canelo. Hearn highlighted Crawford's superior movement, ring IQ, and the fact that he is fresher and younger as key advantages that could lead him to victory.
Because he's not the fighter he was. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of pride for those guys. So he's made a huge amount of money. I don't know, look, maybe it was just fighting in Saudi, the negative opponent, all this kind of stuff. But I was sitting next to Bud for the whole fight, and I was thinking, I think you'll probably beat him. You know?
Wow.
Don't get me wrong, it's a very tough fight for both. Great fight. But the movement of Terence Crawford and the ring IQ, and he looks like, in my opinion, the younger, fresher fighter, even though they're both, what, 36 and 38?
Meanwhile, Oscar De La Hoya, continuing his long-standing feud with Canelo Alvarez, once again criticized him, this time alongside Dana White, as he weighed in on the promotion of the upcoming fight. De La Hoya claimed that nobody wants to see this fight, and alleged that fans are boycotting it due to Canelo ducking David Benavidez. He also took a shot at Dana White for scheduling a major boxing event on the same day as a UFC card, sarcastically mocking the decision and questioning its logic.
A fight that nobody asked for. Fans are now starting to boycott Canelo for continuing to duck you-know-who. Also, they're going up against the UFC at the Sphere. Ooh, good luck with making a splash with that one.
In response to Oscar De La Hoya's comments, Canelo Alvarez didn't hold back, openly stating that he dislikes De La Hoya and believes that many others feel the same due to De La Hoya's lack of loyalty. Canelo fired back at Oscar for pointing out that Ryan Garcia is the only major fighter left under his promotion, adding that even Garcia is rumored to be leaving, allegedly due to De La Hoya's difficult and problematic personality.
Nobody, because he's a vacuum, right? Every time he's in problems, he don't have any fighters.
In addition, Canelo pointed out that Oscar De La Hoya is the type of person who can be expected to show up whenever there's drama or negativity. He criticized De La Hoya for his habit of engaging in public verbal spats, suggesting that it's part of his attention-seeking behavior. Canelo also mentioned Jaime Munguia, implying that De La Hoya doesn't truly care about his fighters and tends to abandon them when they need him most.
You can expect from Oscar, you can expect anything like that. He's just throw shit in for his mouth. He don't know anything about being promoted their fighter or care about their fighter. They always leave their fighters when they need him. In the biggest stage, he leave their fighters. He don't care about his fighter. The attention is for Munguia, and he don't care. He want the attention, all the attention. You know, you saw yesterday, but it's nothing surprised me from him.
Furthermore, Canelo accused Oscar De La Hoya of stealing money from him. He confidently stated that he has all the evidence to prove it, emphasizing that De La Hoya has never taken responsibility or admitted to it. Canelo clarified that it's not about the money for him anymore, but about holding Oscar accountable and reminding him of the importance of integrity and character.
I'm not a female. I have the proofs. I have proofs. I put my liars in, and he tried to steal money. I have proofs.
What are you gonna do next with this?
I don't want to do anything against that kind of guys. I don't want that vibes. I don't really give a shit about Oscar. But if he says something here in my territory, I need to say something, right?
What did you say to him when you faced up against him?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. I was so angry.
In response to the accusations, Oscar De La Hoya dismissed Canelo's claims, suggesting that Canelo is surrounded by people in his own circle who are actually the ones taking advantage of him. He called Canelo stupid for blaming him and firmly denied all allegation. De La Hoya went on to claim that Canelo is using these accusations as a distraction to avoid facing David Benavidez.
Canelo, I just saw another video where you're still talking shit. All you say is, oh, he stole from me. Well, obviously, aside from defaming me, why do you look inside your own circle? Because I know for a fact that people are stealing from you. By the way, you lined my pockets, you made Munguia a shitload of money, all because you're afraid of David Benavidez.
Meanwhile, while blasting the promotion of the Canelo versus Crawford fight, Oscar De La Hoya took aim at Dana White, questioning the decision to price the fight between $90 and $500, calling it a robbery. Despite his ongoing feuds with both Canelo and Dana, Oscar stated that he still plans to attend the UFC event out of his love for both boxing and MMA.
They're snooze fest. They're trying to sell a pay-per-view for $90 and $500 minimum in person. It's just robbery at this point to pay for another lame Canelo fight that always goes the distance against a subpar opponent. I'll actually be attending the UFC event at the Sphere instead. So now, I love the sport of boxing more than anything, and I will be watching boxing matches anywhere and anytime, even if it's a simple sparring session or two bums fighting in the street. So the idea I'm choosing to attend the UFC and support Dana White instead of Canelo tells you everything you need to know. Dana, I can't wait to see you next Saturday, buddy. I see that you got the same ab surgery I got.
Meanwhile, in a recent interview, Oscar De La Hoya spoke about his feud with Canelo in a lighter tone. He acknowledged that while the beef is quite personal, without revealing all the details, he finds the entire situation somewhat hilarious and amusing. De La Hoya went on to emphasize his years of experience in the boxing business, stating that he understands how people approach him and that he responds to them accordingly.
Personal beef, but it's you know, it's funny because it's not a big deal. Like what we're beefing about is hilarious. Actually, it's funny.
It's boxing.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's so funny.
Where was that? Like, hey, I'm gonna stop. Just, I guess there was one part, especially in like celebrity, and you've been a celebrity since the beginning of time because of who you are, even being in the Olympics. Yes, I know it's a weird word. However, initially it's like, just don't say anything, let people talk, don't say anything, right? Then it's there's PR stuff. But now you're like, you know what? Me vale? I'm gonna make
everybody.
Exactly.
I like that. I like that approach.
People I've learned in this business like for 35 years, right?
Meanwhile, as speculation continues over how the fight will play out, Ade Oladipo shared his thoughts. Unlike many who are favoring Terence Crawford, Oladipo predicted a victory for Canelo Alvarez. He believes Canelo will deliver a much better performance against Crawford than he did against William Skull. Oladipo also pointed out that Crawford's last fight against Israel Adesanya wasn't flawless, adding that this gives Canelo a strong chance to come out on top.
I'm still getting Canelo. Even with that performance, I almost feel like Canelo fights
You're a big size guy right there.
Yeah, and he fights up to his guys in terms of if there's a real threat in front of him, we're going to see a better Canelo. He hardly even broke sweat for Skull. Canelo is younger than Crawford, bigger than Crawford. They're both great boxers. Crawford didn't look great against Madrimov. So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm edging to Canelo just.
Amid all the ongoing speculation, Dan Rafael has shared updated details regarding the Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez fight. He confirmed that Dana White is no longer involved in the promotion and that the fight is scheduled to take place on a Saturday. Rafael also pointed out that there have been some issues behind the scenes, though he did not elaborate on all the specifics.
Paraphrasing what he said. Well, by saying it's now going to be a Riyadh season pay-per-view would clearly indicate that it's not going to be a TKO event. And obviously TKO was the entree to Netflix because TKO, which is the parent company not only of UFC, but also of the WWE. And WWE has a $1 billion contract with Netflix. So their executives have done business together. They know each other. And that was sort of the way that those introductions were made. So now your guess is as good as mine. He claims it's going to be elsewhere. It's going to be on the Saturday. And now it seems though it's going to be a pay-per-view and Dana may not be involved. So they just started their relationship, Andy. So who knows if there's problems there.
Dan Rafael went on to confirm that the fight will be a pay-per-view event, though he noted that a streaming deal with a platform like Netflix could have generated even more business. He also suggested that the T-Mobile Arena would be an ideal venue for the bout. Additionally, Rafael shared details about Turki Alal Sheikh's involvement, emphasizing that his efforts are aimed at promoting the Canelo versus Crawford fight for the greater good of the sport.
And, you know, now it's a pay-per-view apparently and not going to be Netflix. Not that Netflix was ever officially announced. To me, they should do it at the T-Mobile Arena on the Saturday. And obviously I prefer it on Netflix, but if they have to go on pay-per-view, so be it. They can always, you know, the biggest fight, there's a reason that the biggest fights that have taken place in North America over the past, 10 or 12 years since the T-Mobile Arena has been open have taken place there because you can generate the largest gate and it's still a destination for tons of fans to travel to Vegas to see a big event. I mean, it's not, what are we reinventing the wheel for, right? I don't quite get it, but he'll figure it out. I'm not worried about Turkey and making those decisions. He's done a lot of events at this point.
Meanwhile, Roy Jones Jr. shared his thoughts on the upcoming Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford fight, stating that Canelo is making a mistake by taking the risk of fighting Crawford. He suggested that Canelo should have faced David Benavidez instead and went on to analyze how a fight with Benavidez might have played out, highlighting Benavidez's skill set and physical advantages. Jones also noted that Canelo may be delaying the Benavidez fight in hopes of securing a better deal and hinted that it could happen after the Crawford bout.
It's a real risk there for him for taking the fight. I mean, of course, he's like any other champ. He wants to make you guys salivate what y'all want to make us pay for it, which is smart. I don't think he's scared of Benavidez, but Benavidez is a tough order for anybody right now, especially if you're at the top of your game, because he's very busy, he's big, he's effective, he's aggressive. All the things you don't want in a fighter, David Benavidez is as an opponent. You feel me? So everything you don't want to see in your opponent, David Benavidez is. Now, does that mean you think he can't beat David Benavidez? No, but he wants to make sure that he makes you guys wait and ask and beg long enough that y'all gonna pay for it, then he'll take his chance. Because he knows too.
Besides this, Roy asserted that this matchup is hard to call on who would come out on top. He noted that it will depend on who takes the fight more into boxing and fighting first. He did not lean towards any of the fighters, but went on to speculate on how he thinks the outcome can be played out by both fighters.
Do I think Canelo can beat Bud? It's a tough fight to call. I think his size may be his best going factor, but if he goes out and boxes Bud, he's not gonna beat Bud boxing. He's not. So if Bud can take his punch, he's not gonna outbox Bud. So it's like, it'll be what would determine the fight would be who wants it most and who has the best fight plan. Because to me, I don't care what they say, if Bud can get Canelo to box him, Bud will outbox Canelo.
Breaking down the fight, Teddy Atlas pointed out that he sees all the greatness in Crawford. He went on to highlight his speed, movement, power, and long intangibles, especially his shot placement, which could lead to a successful victory against Canelo. He also noted that all Crawford needs is to properly adjust to the move and weight class. Otherwise, he believes Crawford would win this fight.
I still see the greatness. The greatness is within Crawford. It's in his desire, it's in his mind, it's in his makeup, it's in his background, where he came from. That there's something about, just like a Sugar Ray Leonard had that something about him when he's a junkyard dog, when he has to be a junkyard dog. And with all the intangible gifts that I just touched on. Not just that the ones that we already know, that he has speed, he's got power, I know he's moving up in weight class, can he carry it, but those intangibles, I believe that he has them. And like I said, when the fight was still mentioned, first mentioned, I should say, I picked him.
Teddy went on to break down how this fight could play out, noting that he was not satisfied with Canelo's last performance against Skull. He pointed out that while Canelo is bigger, he is also slower, whereas Crawford is faster and has sharper movement. In this way, he sees a clear victory for Crawford.
And now it's a little bit more fashionable. You know, it's a little bit, you know, more easier for people to say, oh yeah, I can see Crawford winning. And why? Well, Canelo's last performance, real quick, what could it be? I already went over this. You want to hear it in a deeper breakdown? Go back and listen a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whenever the fight was, to our podcast. And I break it down. I break it down point by point. But right now, I just give an overview of it. Canelo, he's either old man time, that undefeated guy, he finally caught up to him. He's old, he's slow, or here's another one. I already touched on, but I'll say it again.
That's a wrap on today's breakdown. From Oscar's beef with Canelo to Dana White's latest deal and expert predictions, what's your take? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell for more heated debates and fight breakdowns. See you next time.